What's up? Hey, I'm gonna tell a story, and this is gonna be the last When God Moved video. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks, and it bugs me inside. Energy drink probably not the best thing to drink before you're gonna go to sleep. And in 2019, or maybe in 2018, I was still homeless. Yeah, I was still homeless. 2018, I don't know. It was back when I was still financially just like struggling. My life was falling apart. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. Well, there was this church that I went to, Watermark Community Church. And the pastor Todd Wagner, he was the founder of the church about well now it'd be about 27 years ago. Big giant mega church. They have done amazing things for the kingdom of God. Uh but I remember in 2018 it was around that time period of Black Lives Matter movement, and everybody was angry, and there was all these riots all over the place. Downtown Dallas, it was in Dallas County. It's a Democrat stronghold. None of that matters. In that time period, I was homeless, and so here's the background. This pastor stood on stage and said that he pretty much preached, saying that white people are privileged and that we should be more considerate of black people because white people have white privilege. I mean, let me remind you, I was homeless. I was living in my car, and I couldn't find a place to live anywhere. I was struggling paycheck to paycheck, living in my car in Dallas, and I spent I don't know 5 years working for Walmart, and all my bosses were black. And here's this big mega church pastor saying that white privilege or white people are privileged. And so I went up to him after the church service and I told him, I said, "Hey, can I talk to you in private behind closed doors?" And he said, "No. Whatever you have to say, you can say to me in front of everyone." And I told him again, I said, "I really don't want to say what I want to say to you in front of everyone." And he said, "No, no, it'd be fine. You can say whatever you want to say to me in front of everyone." And I really did not want to. But since he refused and I was already standing right there and everybody was looking and there was a crowd of people watching, I told him, I said, "Look, I've been homeless for I don't know how many years. And I was a manager at Walmart, and all my bosses were black. My store manager was a millionaire, and he came from the ghetto. He came from South Dallas. He was born there. I've seen people rise up from the ashes, from the ghetto, from South Dallas. I've seen them make it. I don't see them being oppressed, but me, I'm white and I'm homeless. And you're over here standing on the stage saying that white people have privilege. So I want to know where's that privilege at that you're preaching about? Because I lost my privilege somewhere, and I'm trying to figure out where's my privilege at. And and Todd Wagner, he looked at me, he didn't know what to say, so he changed his sermon. He changed his sermon. Now I'm a preacher. I study the Bible. I listen to everything the preachers say because I want to know everything that there is to know. This dude, instead of apologizing and repenting for what he said on stage. He changed his sermon to fit my circumstance. And ever since then, after me and him went toe to toe, we we just never been eye to eye. He's never liked me, and I like that guy. I love that pastor. I just think that he I don't know what happened to him. He just I don't know. Long story short, a few months later, after I pretty much rebuked this big megachurch pastor, the in front of other people, and there was people watching the rebuke happen that they knew me personally on a whole nother level that Pastor Todd Wagner did not know me. And one person was Freddie, and he was the janitor. And the whole church knew about Freddie. He was a recovered, I think, alcoholic and drug addict, and God changed his life. And Watermark Church knows about him. But me and Freddie, we know each other, and he knows my story. Matter of fact, Freddie, when I first became homeless, he came over and threw a bunch of clothes in the back of my truck in a trash bag and gave me like a Bible, and I think he gave me food. And he was the janitor of the church. Not the pastor, not the leaders, not the no one else, just the janitor. The janitor did that for me when I was homeless. The janitor of the church, not the leaders of the church. The leaders of the church stood on stage and told me that I had white privilege and I needed to go find it. I rebuked the leaders for saying that. A few months later, though, Pastor Todd Wagner stood on stage again and pretty much resigned from his position as pastor of the church. And this followed with more pastors in that church resigning. It was like a domino effect. And many of those leaders in that church, they're either no longer doing ministry or they're doing ministry in other churches. Um, but the reason he resigned was because he said it's because the church said he was prideful. I think the real reason he resigned is because of the conversation that we had just 3 months before. And I was calling it. I told my friend, I said, watch, the church is going to fire Pastor Todd Wagner because of the way he's been acting. And that was the first time I rebuked the pastor, and it had to be God divine. What's the chances some homeless guy that's nobody goes up to a big megachurch pastor and toe to toe, and a few months later he's out of a job. Fast forward, Wisconsin, Rice County. God puts me first in front of a deacon and his family, and I ended up at the end of dating that deacon's daughter. I ended up rebuking the deacon and his entire family in like a 2 year stretch, and I had these dreams that God's judgment was going to come against that family, and it's freaking heavy on me, you know. I don't want to see that. But then I rebuked the second person I rebuked was a pastor. It was the pastor of that deacon, and I rebuked him. And he was a pastor right here in Price County. And I won't tell you the name or anyone or anything like that. But he was a pastor in Price County. Later on, maybe what, a year later, I'm in another church and there was a problem with there was heretics in this church where they were saying that it was okay to sleep with the same sex and to pull pronouns out of the Bible. And so I rebuked this heretic for that. And then later on, me and the pastor and I of this one particular church got into a theological debate with each other. But then he started saying stuff that it was like really just like right on the line of heresy, from saying that God was a woman and that it's okay to pull pronouns out of the Bible and that, all this crazy stuff. And I actually told the pastor last year, I said, I would consider you a heretic. And that was my rebuke to him. And then a few months ago, there was a pastor that was very young, and we spoke to each other very, on and off. Anytime I saw him, we would have a small little conversation. When the last conversation I had with him, I told him, I said, "Hey, you're the youngest pastor in all of Northwest Wisconsin. You need to use your role to reach young people. I mean, God has put you right here for a reason. He's given you a church building for a reason. And you need to take advantage of it. You need to take advantage of the fact that you're young." I think he was like 35. And this pastor told me to my face that he does not want to reach anyone for Christ. And I rebuked the pastor, but it was in like a very loving, gentle kind of way. I wasn't. I would consider him my friend. I'm very disappointed that he would be a pastor and not want to reach anyone for Christ. I was working on him, man. I was like, I'm gonna get this pastor motivated to preach the word of God. But a few days after that conversation, that pastor's denomination's leadership came down and just out of the blue was like, "Hey, you can't be the pastor of this church no more. You need to leave. We're gonna send someone else." And they sent someone else, and the person that they replaced him with was this older lady, and I would say she's worse than him. And what that particular church believes is that, hey, we don't care what you believe, just come and pay us money. I- I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty much what the website says. It's a dying church with a worthless leadership of the church. But within a few days of that pastor saying, "I don't want to reach nobody for Christ," the leadership of his denomination removed him from being a pastor. A few months later, the pastor of the church that he was saying that it was okay to pull pronouns out of the Bible, and that one person was saying the same thing and saying that it was okay to sleep with the same sex, and that the pastor was saying that, God could be a woman. That pastor resigned from his ministry. So two of the three pastors that I pretty much rebuked within a 12-month period, or maybe a 2-year period. Two of them no longer in ministry in Price County. I don't know if that young pastor got sent to another church or something, but they're not here no more. They're not in Price County, and it leaves me with wonder about that other pastor. because the way these pastors were being removed, it was like the first became last and the last became first. So like the last pastor I rebuked in a very nice and gentle way. He got fired first. And then the second pastor I rebuked in a very sharp and very sharp way. He just like removed he left ministry. And then the third pastor I rebuked very harshly. He's still in ministry. And it makes me wonder, what is God going to do? What's God going to do with that pastor? What is he going to do with that deacon and his family? I have seen God remove pastors, but this is different. This removing of leaders in leadership positions is all happening within the same county in Wisconsin, Price County. All of these pastors and deacons, they're all from Price County. So it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. So when God moves,